And this is Chris Bonfiglio. We're geographers, and at the very beginning of this, we saw a man swim to the sea, and he also explained how once people knew about how the river was along the length of it, that would inspire them to greater efforts towards understanding the environment and preserving that. But the difficulty is not very many people want to jump into snow melt water. But what our problem is collectively as geographers and those scientists that use geographic information systems is pretty much our default is the top-down map. But if you think about it, that interface between the land and the water, whether it's the coast, a river, is a very thin thing that doesn't take up much of the paper. And when you want to lump many, many data sets on it, it's very hard it gets very crowded very quickly. So something jogged in the back of my mind, and I realized I should take the God's Eye View map and turn it on end. And basically this was inspired by back in the days of sail, the coastal pilots just had a continuous strip map like a scroll which showed the features on the shoreline at any given point as they passed by. So we generated a map which is basically goes along the river and takes the different polygons and generates a range according to the river mile. So at the top there, King County owns this, here's some neighborhoods in Kent, the zoning, all the way down to the parcel level, and I dare to speak if you wanted to take it down to each individual piece of gravel, you could. So we export this as SVG using gradients. It's a very simple sort of lightweight thing that can run on any sort of browser or portable device. And then point features like where road crossings occur, railroads, parks, etc. And just like a GIS system, you could turn these layers on and off and zoom in. And for example, on this, the blue line there is the river where the freeways cross. The dark green there is like the near shore, the bank to the first large objects. That might come from LiDAR data. Then on the edge there is the watershed, the ridge line of the watershed around it. But for instance, this is only a small segment. The Duwamish is 82 miles long if you go up the river itself. But also, these are features human beings understand. This is where I live, this is where I drive, this is where I go down to fish. So even better when we go to display scientific information, like contaminants, etc., this gives us a canvas to paint that scientific data on. So our tool chain used open data, mostly King County, used Esri's Community Edition to export. Basically our goal, I didn't get it working, was to generate the SVG out with Python out of ARC, and then use one of the open source SVG viewers. In the future, automation, every component can be automated. It's all Python in ARC or QGIS. Mostly we're going to lean towards using the open source tools. And then using, I don't know JavaScript, shout out Pat Tessel for helping try to teach you that. So anyway, we're going to try and turn how we look at the coast, the rivers, and the fish that swim in them on end, and hope that the public understands our data better. Any questions?
Okay, so mostly I just want to tell you that just that idea you had blew my mind and made so much sense. Quick story, I had a chance to take the ferry from Bellingham up Southeast Alaska, and exactly the way that this is presented is exactly how you view the shoreline from both sides of the road. Yeah, and I think it's a really just incredible way to re-envision how we're looking at things that could have a lot of potential for how we might shift our approach, both from the policy and the acquisition side. So just kudos for how big and simple and beautiful an idea that is. So following from there, I'm curious if you have any thoughts about how you would like to see this tool applied in the context of overfishing, and how it might end up. I knew you were operating, which is totally fine, but just curious if you
So as
have
I
thoughts
was
about
working
that.
on it, the problem statements popped into my head.
Yeah.
Is you're filling out a fish tank. Where'd you catch the fish? You're on the river. If you're in a country or some place where you don't have technology-based systems, this gives you a grid reference along the length of the river or along the shore. If you want an economic incentive, hand out these maps to the fishermen. If they don't have electronic devices, this becomes a survival tool for them. They could be. So as I rolled through, I was thinking of how this sort of visualization, because the fisherman is on the water looking at the environment around. My objection to technology is very rarely when I am out in a stormy sea am I going to be looking at a handheld device or whatever. My eyes are out. Sailors are used to handling paper. I hate to tell them. Any other questions? Yes?
So, how large? I remember you when you were pitching it, you were talking about it'd be nice to go along with the boat and have this map. How big is your data set, and like how realistic would it be to have an offline version?
Oh, as SVG, this is really lightweight. This is actually, it's just polygons in lines, and it's relying on the browser, the display device to shade to provide the gradients. It came out a lot better than I thought it would. So pleasantly surprised by it. So with that, the word ward means a constituency like electoral ward. It also means a protection against a spell in magic. And it also means to ward a sword. So I hope this is a force to change environment. Thank you.